Time for a top 5? Why not? Let's get into the video. Right guys, so as I said in the intro, I don't know why I do intros, it's thumbnails tell you exactly what the video is about. Don't know why I intro because I'm an idiot and it probably makes people go, oh, he's off again. Click, turn off. I don't know why you're doing that unless you're watching on your TV. Yeah, this is going to be my top 5 beginner species that I think people should have for a first tarantula. Again, my opinion. So if I haven't said something you like, that's really easy to look after. Sorry. You make a top 5 or comment your top 5 below. But yeah, top 5 beginner species. I'm going to try and video them and then maybe talk over them for the reasons why I think that they are the best species. I do need to do a bit of maintenance. I was going to do a whole maintenance video, but maybe these 5 I'll do a bit of maintenance on now and then do another maintenance because it's constant maintenance. Constant. Anyway, kind of going off topic. Right, so I was kind of going off topic. Yep. So we're going to start with my number 5 in this, and that is the Untitled Chapter or the Brachypalma Hamori, and that is the curly hair tarantula. Let's try and take a look and have a little talk of why. Right, so this is the Untitled Chapter or the Brachypalma Hamori, also known as the curly hair. This is the Honduras, the normal one. Obviously, you've got the Nicaraguan one, which has got more orangey fur. I'm not going to feed this one today. As you can see by the molt in the background, it's molting about 48 hours ago. As I said in my last video, I leave the molt in there for a week or 2 minimum, just because I don't want to stress the spider out too much. I will be putting a bit of water around the enclosure here just because I want the humidity to stay up, so it will help with its recovery and its hardening up. But yeah, I've decided that this one should be in the top 5 just because, as I said, Brachypalma, so Brachypalmas are very easy to look after. They're very hardy, but in my opinion, this one just stands out a little bit more because of the hairs on the legs, and people will know about the curly hair that aren't in the hobby, and that's the reason I chose this in number 5. You see, unfortunately, we didn't get to feed that one or anything. Don't know if I'm going to be feeding any of them. It's just more of a quick glance so you can see. Fly, why? Yeah, so you can see what the tarantulas look like. So as you can see, I'm not even going to, as I said, I'm not going to touch that molt. It's molted in the last 48 hours. And I'm probably going to leave it for a week, maybe 2, before I even touch the molt or anything else. Hopefully we can find out what sex it is, and hopefully it's a female. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I digress. On to number 4 in my top 5 beginner species. And that is the Brachypalma Hamori, or the desert blonde. I got this one as an adult female. She is stunning. I will flip the camera around. Alright, so this is the Brachypalma Hamori, the desert blonde, aka Arizona desert blonde. Weirdly enough, they come from Arizona. They're used to it being hot. This is part of the reason why I picked them for the top 5. They are so easy to look after. Oh, missed a water dish. I'm just trying to fill this up. Just because it is quite a shallow water dish, I only fill it up every now and then. Not like I do with the most tarantulas I have. But as I said, these are from Arizona. They're used to it being like arid, hot. They are out in the midday sun and stuff. They do hide every now and then, which is why I've put a tiny kind of hide. Mine never uses it. It always climbs on top of it instead. But these are the most like gentle tarantula I think there is in the hobby. They're slow, they're docile. I've never seen a fret pose or anything from any of them. This one, normally when I open up, happily comes out. But they do web a little bit more than your Brachypalmas, as you'll be able to see looking at the enclosure, like where its abdomen is. Another reason I picked these is because they stand out from your average brown tarantula. The blonde carapace, the blonde for like 3/4 of the legs, or the blonde the orange for the 3/4 of the legs. And it's just because they're really, really easy to care for. So in at number 4, the Brachypalma Hamori. Right, so as you would have seen by that, and as I mentioned, that seems to be the most gentle spider in the history of the world. It's so slow and so chilled out, even to the point where I haven't done it on camera in case it goes wrong, but I have fed it by hand. But I just think the colours are different. As I briefly mentioned, the webbing, it webs more than a Brachypalma. And to be fair, they're really easy. That water dish, I'd probably fill up once a week, maybe even less than that, because they're arid species. I do feel sorry for because that one was actually drinking when I brought it over to try and show you. So that's why I've made sure the water dish is full in case it does want to drink, but it doesn't. I accidentally sprayed side of the enclosure, which I would have mentioned. But that is why that is number 4. It's just a gentle, chilled tarantula. To be fair, I probably could have fed it then, but it didn't feed that long ago. And as I said before in my last video, don't overfeed your tarantulas. So we'll get into the next one. The next one on my list is the Brachypalma. Now I mentioned that in my last video as well, about they take forever to grow and molt and stuff like that. So let's go and have a look at him, her, it, they. I see, you can't really see it at the moment. This is the Brachypalma, or the Brazilian black. I'm just gonna, it's in pre-molt. You'll see it when it will come out, because it always does whenever I water the enclosure. It just comes out like it wants to have a shower or something. Oh, and with that, here it comes. I know I said a minute ago about when I was doing the Brachypalma Hamori about it's just not your regular black or brown tarantula. This is your regular black tarantula, but it's like a velvety black. They are absolutely stunning. The bigger they get, the more velvety, the darker the black looks as well. They are unbelievable. But it's, again, like the last tarantula, they're just so relaxed, they're so chilled. This one wants to come out. It comes out of his enclosure quite often, just kind of walks around. A bit like Chalcodes. I try to keep them in their enclosures because the last thing I need is them sprinting around. But as you can see, I've literally just sprayed this one and it's not running or anything. It's a very slow, very relaxed. As you can see by the abdomen, it is in nope. It is in pre-molt, and like I said, this one will come out if I let it. Nope. Right, I think I best be putting this back on and we'll get on to the next one, shall we? But this was number 3. Hopefully you enjoyed that Brachypalma running around. As you can see, that's another one, a bit like the Chalcodes, is so chilled. I've never had a fret pose. I've never had anything. And as you saw, it likes to come out and say, hello. That one, if I opened the thing and just left it, it would be out walking around everywhere. And to be honest, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest because, as I said, it's chilled. I've never had a fret pose. I'll probably be able to pick it up and put it back in its enclosure. Not necessarily going to do that because of the handling side of things. I'll probably just get a catch cup, let it walk into it and put it back in its enclosure. But again, you could see the giant butt on that one. That one's been in pre-molt for a while. Still eats. That's a weird thing. Again, ate a few days ago. Not going to overfeed it. Not going to risk impaction or anything when it's getting ready to molt. So that was number 3. Now we are on to number, and make sure I didn't swear at people, 2. And most people will probably think that this would be my number 1 for beginner species, but it's not, and I will explain why when I'm showing you it. And that is the Brachypalma pubescens, or the GBB. So let's flip it around and have a gander at the GBB and what it's done to its enclosure. It's had for a couple of weeks, which I expected to be more webby, if I'm honest. Alright guys, so here's the enclosure, and you're probably thinking, where is the GBB? Where is it? Now unfortunately the GBB is around here. So what we'll do is we'll remove the top, and we will show you it from the top. Now this is my adult female GBB, who also molted quite recently. Just to make the colours pop, we will do that. Now these are unbelievable. If it was just on colours and stuff, this would be number one. The reason it's not number one, and as I said, this is my opinion. We'll just quickly feed it, but not talk about it. I'll change the angle of the camera just because it's a nightmare. I was hoping to catch this feeding, but maybe it will feed, maybe it won't. Anyway, going back to the reason why this isn't my number one. Some people get freaked out by cobwebs and spider webs. That's part of the reason this isn't my number one. It probably would be a lot of people's number one. They can kick hairs a little bit more readily than some of the other species that I've had in this video. This one has given me a fret posture in the past. Only once. They are quite relaxed. They are very easy to look after. Again, you would have seen from the beginning part of this that there isn't even a water dish in this. I literally just moisten the web a little bit every now and then because these are used to very, very arid conditions, a bit like the Brachypalma Hamori. Another reason why they should be in anyone's top 5. One, they are one of the most stunning tarantulas on the planet. I don't think it's going to feed. And secondly, because they're easy to look after. They're very easy to look after. Providing every now and then you give them a little bit of water and you feed them, then they'll, if it's a female, I guess it will live for many, many years. But it wasn't my number one purely for the fact of some people find cobwebs and stuff freaky. And personally, I think if you can get an enclosure that's all webbed up with like a light behind it, maybe like a blue tinge light or something, it's stunning. It's a little bit maybe even spooky. And I think that's amazing. Tarantulas and spiders in general get a bad rap. And I don't know why. Flip the angle again. I'm going to put the lid on and leave this one alone now. Just because it wants to eat. But I think me talking and the vibrations of me talking and maybe possibly the breath is not doing it. But this was a very close call to being number one. But unfortunately, the GBB or green bottle blue is number 2. Surprised? As I said, that if it was purely on colours and stuff all day, that would be number 1. But to me, it's more than just the colours and stuff. People may have guessed it now. What I would say is, technically this isn't really in any order, but what I would say is the perfect beginner tarantula. Now I know Kelly from Kelly's Critters and Creations, this was her first tarantula. And again, that was because she asked people in the group. People gave her loads of different ideas. I said this one. One, they are like the tarantula that people think about when you say, I've got a tarantula. They'll be like, what? You got what? So if you haven't already guessed, number 1, even though I said no particular order, but this would be my go-to if I could keep one tarantula. And that's the Brachypalma Hamori. I had one when I was 14, around now somewhere. Didn't look after it, didn't know how to look after it. Do your research. Unfortunately, it died. Now I've got a sub-adult female and a sub-adult male who's bigger than her at the moment. So in order to try and even things out, I've slowed his feeding down a bit. She's not the best feeder in the world. So, and also I'm saying she's not confirmed yet because their last 2 mocks she's destroyed. So let's flip a camera around and we'll have a look at this stunner. So here we are. This is my number 1. As I said, this is a personal opinion. For me, personally, for me, this tarantula brings back a lot of memories for me. As I said, it's the first tarantula I had when I was 14. didn't know how to look after it because I'm useless. Then when I got back into the hobby, I went to a show with Gav, wasn't even planning on buying any tarantulas, saw one of these and knew I had to have it. So again, it was my first tarantula when I got back into the hobby. I'm going to get rid of this water dish actually, it's got too much rubbish floating in it. As I said, like, I've just poured loads of water out, took out this water dish, it's not moved. These are one of the most relaxed spiders in the hobby. Probably not as calm or as relaxed and as slow as the Chalcodes or the Grammostolepultra. But for me, visually, these tarantulas with their temperament and, as I said, personal memories of mine, it's the reason why this is my number one. Oh, jump there though. Made me jump a little bit. But I think it thinks it's food. It did get fed a couple of days ago. I'm not going to feed it again just for the sake of being on film. I've got a routine and I will be feeding it in a couple of days. But it's got his leg in the water just because it's nuts. But as I said, these are very chilled. It's mainly, you look at the difference in like the brighter orange on the knees going down to like a lighter orange. A light orange around the carapace. The black centre of the carapace. The black abdomen with the like white/orange tinge hairs on it. Accidentally sprayed the tarantula in. Don't spray your tarantulas. But even with me accidentally spraying it, even spraying this one that it's not moved, don't worry, my camera is not on fire. It kind of looks like it, but that's just a mist. I'm trying to mist but spray the top of the enclosure so I don't spray directly onto the tarantula, although you'll be able to see the little bits of water beads on top of the tarantula. But it's just, you look at this and you look at the way it stands out. I was going to start talking about the legs and stuff, but I'll try and zoom in a bit before I can do that. It's just the dark yet brighter orange on the legs. Here we go. And then, yeah, even the carapace, even the like orangey hairs over the top of where the fangs are. To me, as I said, this is personal, but I just think these are absolutely stunning and definitely, my opinion, the first spider anyone should ever get. Right guys, so as I mentioned in the video then, Brachypalma Hamori is my number one, partly because if you say to anyone who's not in the hobby and stuff, I collect tarantulas, the first question I'm going to get asked is, you got Mexican red knee? And I'm like, yeah. It's actually called a Brachypalma Hamori. But that's the spider that most people think of when you say you've got a tarantula. And it was the first tarantula I ever had. And then when I got back into the hobby, it was the first tarantula I ever had. As I've mentioned previously, I had one Canelo who unfortunately died of impaction. But she was awesome. The most laid back, as I've mentioned in my previous video before, helped my mum and my son get over their fear of spiders, or kind of get over their fear of spiders. And I just think that even then, you saw I was spraying, I even sprayed on the tarantula without meaning to. It's a nightmare trying to get that big pumpy thing in between the camera and the tarantula. But there was no kicking of hairs, there was no defensive, it was just like, oh no, I'm getting wet, I'm going to move a little bit. And unless you've got my male, I do have a male one of those, as I've mentioned. He is called Kikios of Hairs, Hairland, Hair Guy. Kickasmuck Hair, that's what I'm going to call him, Kickasmuck Hair, because he is a nightmare. You take off the lid, like a mushroom cloud of hair, and no one wants that. No one wants that. No. But apart from him, who seems to be the devil when it comes to Hamores, the other ones I've had have all been as chilled as you can get. So that's part of the reason. And as I mentioned in the video, the striking difference between the black and the orange, it's awesome. Bit confusing why they're Mexican red knees when they should be Mexican orange, tangerine, Jaffa knees. But anyway guys, that brings us to the end of yet another video. A massive thank you to everyone who's watched. Remember, if you like these videos, please click on the likes, please click on the subscribe, turn on bell notifications, share the video if you can. This way it'll get out there more, and these videos may help someone who's looking at getting their first tarantula in the hobby. So a massive thank you to everyone who's watched this and for sticking with the channel when I had my few weeks off. And I'll see you on the next one. As always, I'm Al. You guys are awesome. See you later.